to beautiful Highmark Stadium. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time.
I'm the bad guy.
Now introducing the starting lineup for visiting Louisville City FC. In goal, number 18, Damian Wass. At defense, number 3, Jake Morris. At defense, number 5, Arturo Ordonez. At defense, number 6, Wes Charpie. At defense, number 32, Kyle Adams. At midfield, number 17, Taylor Davila. At midfield, number 23, Elijah Winder. At midfield, number 25, Jason Wilson. At forward, number 14, Wilson Harris. At forward, number 21, Jorge Gonzalez. And at forward, number 24, Tola Shoemi. The head coach for Louisville City FC is Danny Cruz.
At the confluence of three rivers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the USL's best rivalries on full display this Wednesday night. History in the making as King Kenny takes his crown, a record-tying 277th league appearance tonight for the Hounds. He matches up with one of the league's most ascendant young players, Elijah Winder, at first place Louisville City, right now on CBS Sports. It is a hot, steamy night in Pittsburgh as we welcome you to the USL Championship on CBS Sports. Louisville City pays a visit. The Riverhounds have never toppled Blue City here at Highmark Stadium. Another chance to do so tonight from a disappointing place on the league table for this time of the season. 6 winless now. They sit in 10th, but a win takes them into a tie for 8th place in the final playoff spot, while Louisville City 3 points clear of both Charleston and Indy 11 with a game in hand. And good evening, everyone. Joined by the former All-SEC striker Marion Crowder, Mike Watts on hand as well. And this is one of those truly great rivalries in the championship. But both teams coming off a loss, and you can argue that a response looks different for both tonight.
But it's what makes this matchup so interesting. Lou City didn't start on the front foot well enough against Tampa Bay in their 3-2 loss. So while points are necessary, yes, they have the luxury of coming into this with a mentality focus. That's the heavier impact for head coach Danny Cruz. But Mike, Pittsburgh is nearing the midway point of the season, and there's a sense of urgency that Bob Lilly is needing from his side to turn some of these solid performances into actual points on the board. It's their inability to score, and that is why we see their form in the last 6 matches. Just 1 goal in their last 4.
They feel like they're creating enough chances, and defensively they're hanging in there, Marion.
Yeah, they are near the lowest in terms of goals conceded and right up there with Lou City in terms of clean sheets with 5. But we are expecting to see some personnel changes, some personnel additions to say how crucial this matchup is.
And it's a former Louisville City star, Enoch Mushagalusa, who will take the reins tonight, acquired from Hartford this week.
He's got vision, and he plays with a fierceness. He's going to be acting as the second striker to a new face to the starting 11 in Emmanuel Johnson. We will see what he can do against his former team.
Mushagalusa will try and put his former team to sleep. Meanwhile, Louisville City, this attack has been on fire all season long. They're going to get Wilson Harris back tonight. 39 goals. That's more than double all but 5 teams in the league.
Yeah, and it's closer to quadruple the goals that Pittsburgh has scored than not. And look, Wilson Harris back into the starting 11, but the people that have stepped in, Sam Gleadle, he has become such a presence for this side. They're getting goals from everywhere, but they are going to be happy to have their leading goal scorer back into the starting 11. He's got 10 goals on the season, second behind only Charleston Battery's Nick Marcanic.
Wilson Harris does a little bit of everything, and tonight he's going to pair with Tola showing me up front. It's going to be a unique Lou City look, one we haven't seen yet this year.
Yeah, and Wilson Harris can do a lot of things well, but what separates him is his ability in the creativity for the final execution, whether that be a pause to get a window shot, whether that be a pause to get a clean service. He really is what makes the difference.
All right, Louisville City and Pittsburgh alongside the Monongahela River in Pennsylvania. CBS Sports presents one of the great rivalries of the championship. 4 straight draws between the teams here in Pittsburgh. Hopefully tonight something has to give. Lineups and kickoff coming up next on CBS Sports Network. As Mark Twain said, action speaks louder than words, but not nearly as often. Bob Lilly has decided 6 changes should be enough to try and end a 6-match winless skid.
Yeah, let's see if we can identify him. 3-5-2, Biasi gets the start. Bradley Sample, the favorite substitute, gets the start. And King Kenny up there garnering the attack with Danny Griffin. And then the 2 we mentioned in the open, Musha Galusa, such a fierceness with which he plays, going to be the second striker to Emmanuel Johnson, who had an incredible outing against Hartford last time out.
Meanwhile, for Louisville, they've made a number of changes as well. Sharpie, Harris, Showme, and Wilson all come in.
Also going to be a 3-5-2. Sharpie over there on the right-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we're going to stick with it because everything's changing. You got Wilson coming in over Aiden McFadden. You got Harris added back to the lineup. And Tola Shuanmi. Let's see what he can do and see if he can come out of that hole that we've seen him in previously.
Let's fly. Opening whistle arrives from Matt Thompson, and we play at Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh. 10th place Riverhounds and the top Louisville City side, 3 points clear of everybody in the league. With Marion Crowder, Mike Watts. You know, Marion, we had a chat with Danny Cruz. It was a 3-1 blowout, even bigger perhaps than the margin would have indicated when Louisville faced Pittsburgh about 2 months ago in Louisville. That's a ginormous grass field. It's a little bit tighter confines here in Pittsburgh, and Danny Cruz the first to say it's going to be night and day between the two.
And I think that actually favors Pittsburgh a little bit more, especially when you look at some of the lineup changes. Canardo Forbes, obviously such a veteran in this league, but he plays better on a field that's a little bit smaller, and the way that Pittsburgh attacks those quick 1-2 combinations to try and catch Louisville off their guard is what's going to be so key. The other key for them, for both sides, is going to be getting the first goal. We mentioned it in the open. Pittsburgh inability to score. The only way that that is fixed is to start getting some confidence, and getting a first goal against the top team in the league will do just that.
Biasi puts it in play. First time the Riverhounds have been on national TV since the first week out of the extended COVID hiatus in July of 2020. And the goal that Tyler Pasher scored for Indy 11 on that day is a highlight that's still pretty well worn around the league office. The #1 play on the SportsCenter top 10 the following morning, and for good reason, a 40-yard missile. That'll come short of the train tracks.
Because of that, this will actually be the first with an actual crowd behind it. Obviously,
That's right.
2020 with the pandemic restrictions and such a hostile environment when Highmark is packed.
And it's packed on a night where temps are going to be in the high 80s as we kick off. Bob Lilly's 7th season at the helm, and only the 3rd time that the 6-time USL Coach of the Year has faced a single season, 6-game winless skid. I told you it was hot. Both coaches made mention that would play a role on this Wednesday night. Samples sends this out to the halfway line. Suber lets it fly. Snuck beneath showing me. Good depth addition for Louisville up front, and tonight the chance to make his first start in 53 minutes for Louisville City. Forbes.
The interesting piece about Tola is both coaches echoed just how physical this match was going to be. And yes, you come into it with a game plan, but you got to be ready to go to battle. And Tola showing me a player that can handle the physicality that this game's going to call for. He's extremely efficient as a link-up player as well, and can help spring the attack pretty quickly and be ruthless in the box, which, let's be honest, that's what they've been missing.
Danny Cruz, 4th season as the Louisville head coach. Still just 34 years old, and maybe the most highly sought after young American coach in the game right now. And what can really be said is this is his team now. Jake Morris launches into the box, one of the offseason acquisitions for Louisville City. Played 12 games at Loudon last year, lost the handle, bypassing Winder, and here goes Mushagalusa playing it ahead. Long run for Johnson, and sent the other way by Damian Loss. You know, watching this Louisville team, you may not get the full taste of it, but Bob Lilly's side certainly understood it. About 20 minutes in that matchup in Louisville a couple months ago, they made a tactical substitution. That was 20 minutes into a game. I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen that. So something to keep in mind as these sides sort of go about their chess match in the early going.
And a good visual, you know, the first time that these two teams met, Louisville spent the first 30 minutes in Pittsburgh's defensive half. You know, they spent the first 30 minutes just absorbing pressure, barely crossing the midfield line, and Bob Lilly felt that they didn't start to exist until they were brave enough to go forward. So they're going to have to be willing to run. They're going to have to be willing to work hard. And ideally, yes, you keep possession, you play out of the back, but that's not always what the game calls for. And this could be one of those where quick releases are so important.
Louisville, fairly strong performance in the overall series, but especially here at Highmark. Only 3 teams currently in the championship have played in Pittsburgh and not lost yet. Louisville's played here 10 times, 5 wins, 5 draws. Orange County a win and a draw. San Antonio a single game and a single win. Everyone else is bent at the knee to Bob Lilly's Riverhounds in the last 6.5 years. Showing me drops it back. Adams. Davila. Sharpie. Gonzalez. Morris. Morris! Morris had a real chance in the first half against Tampa Bay that did not go down. But a couple of goals, 3 assists on the year.
And Pittsburgh just gets caught too narrow. Outside center back trying to do the same thing as the central center back, and why not? You've got Jacob Randolph for Pittsburgh in his 2nd start of the season. Test him early.
2nd start of his professional career. 22-year-old native of Louisiana, and one of the many players signed out of the legendary Pittsburgh December Combines. Wouldn't be American soccer without the train flying through the background.
A beautiful sight.
I think that can't be all that common, but the reality is Louisville City once played a final at the home of the University of Louisville. Had a train running through the background, ultimately in a defeat to Real Monarchs in 2019.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's
Showing me took it away. Harris knocked out by Randolph, and he dives on the grenade. Well, that's one way to test a new goalkeeper.
Absolutely, and this is what he does best. He's a poacher. He's fierce in the box. He recognizes moments to go. And that little moment of hesitation from Wilson Harris, those are the things that make him one of the best goal scorers in this league. He's patient with the ball at his feet. You can see he paused there just for a moment to try to get a better window. Randolph ultimately comes up big with the save.
Good leave, Johnson. Giant ricochet comes out towards Showing Me. Trying to get clever with Suber, who took it back. Here's Danny Griffin. Mushagalusa left that short. Forbes offering pressure against the reigning defender of the year in the league. Arturo Ordonez, first game back in Pittsburgh since signing as a free agent in Louisville over the offseason. Ball lost upfield from Sample. Johnson went down. Matt Thompson had a long look. Mushagalusa recovers in the corner. Pittsburgh has seen their season end on what they have felt been dubious penalties conceded, including against this Louisville team. Thing to remember about Pittsburgh coming into this season was when you lose Albert Diqua, Golden Boot winner, most outstanding player in the league, you lose the defender of the year in the aforementioned Arturo Ordonez, who's now playing for Louisville. Bob Lilly had a lot of holes to fill in this group, and it was never going to be easy to do so. They've created enough, the numbers kind of staggering the extent to which they've failed to score to this point. Riverbound.
How many do you think have been lost in that river?
11. The scoreboard helps.
I love it. I hope that's a sponsored element.
It is.
Absolutely love it. But I have to think that that is far below what the number actually is. Or, I mean, we can't be counting training balls as well.
No, that would be a problem. There's Ordonez. Danny Cruz brought him in. Said this guy is relentless, zero ego, and I know you rate him as much as anybody.
Ordonez to me is a player, and this is a rarity for center backs, albeit it shouldn't be, but when you watch film on this Louisville City team as a whole, your eyes draw to him and his ability to keep playmakers with their back to goal, make the angle difficult. I think he is top notch and one of the main reasons that Louisville City can do what they can in the attack.
Johnson, offside.
And Mike, we can see early on what Pittsburgh is trying to emulate. In that Tampa Bay Rowdies matchup, Tampa Bay was able to exploit that space down the channel by pulling the outside center backs a little bit more forward with some movement centrally, and then they find a vertical run in behind to that space that was just left. Obviously, we're seeing some changes on the back line for Lou City because perhaps some of those lack of focus moments, but early on, Pittsburgh really looking to dive down that channel and exploit the space that Sharpie and Adams are leaving.
Something Louisville lamented against Tampa Bay. They knew it was coming, and they still couldn't stop it with Cal Jennings. Ultimately ended up being their second loss of the year over the weekend at Tampa Bay, the game that had 45 fouls in it. I blame Louisville if they're just a little bit banged up tonight.
That's a big reason that Emmanuel Johnson gets the start. We've already seen just how speedy he can be in those direct runs in behind. He's not afraid to get forward. He's got a big presence in the 18-yard box.
Ordonez. Salas showing me beneath it again. Etu went up for it. Griffin put his head in harm's way. Changes Pittsburgh has made from one game to the next all season. That's slammed down by Winder. Look at a talking to for the young player who signed a multi-year extension last month. Laid upfield by Gonzalez. Harris chasing by his lonesome. Adams. Griffin. Suber. Got out beyond Sample. Rivera. Down goes Forbes.
Ends up getting the foul here, and excellent that he did. Otherwise, the right decision on that ball was just to put it into the mixer. You had Emmanuel Johnson 1v1 with the Lou City center back. Why not just see if they can handle his physicality? And I assume that that's exactly what they'll do here on this free kick.
Forbes, the championship's all-time leader in assists. He had 10 last year. We're nearing the midway point of the season. He has none. Recently turned 36 years old, and today his 277th league appearance, tying Jan Ekra for most in championship history. What magic does Forbes have tonight? Well, there was no rabbit in that hat. maintained by Biasi. Sometimes you just overthink it a little bit.
Yeah, simplicity is oftentimes the best decision in this game that we play. And again, you have made changes as a group to put some physical bodies into this match. Use them.
That's a foul, Matt!
Matt doesn't think that's a foul, it turns out. Thompson lets play continue. Here's Griffin. Griffin tries to chip it through. Out towards Suber. Speared back. Harris went down. A foul from Biasi. That's going to come with a yellow card. First issued either way tonight. And Wilson Harris is down, returned after missing 2 games against Tampa Bay to play 20 minutes, termed a slight hamstring sprain.
Yellow card against the Riverhounds, number 13, Luke Biasi.
4th yellow accumulated by Biasi this year.
Hey, he's getting the softest foul I've seen all season now. Hey, Matt, that's a clear elbow. Yeah, yeah.
Hung into the box, Gonzalez. As far as Adams. Johnson closed it down. Now Forbes gets up on Morris, offers the cross. Winder. Plays square, just got it by Mushagalusa. Jansen Wilson deeply inverted. All into Gonzalez. Rivera wiped it away. And the pressure sustained by Louisville. Ball long, grabbed by Randolph. You know, this is such an intriguing matchup in the part that Pittsburgh and Louisville actually aren't that far apart in terms of expected goals in the grander scheme, and yet here's Louisville with 39 on the season, Pittsburgh on 11. Conversion rate, that's goals over shots, 23%, top of the league for Louisville, 9% bottom of the league for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and sometimes as a coach, you just wonder, what do I need to do differently? I mean, you start to look at everything, right? Do we need to feed them differently? Does pregame need to be different? Do we not even need to warm up? Do we just need to show up and play? Because there have been, if you watch the highlight tapes of their matches, there are some, for lack of a better phrase, that are comical and defy the law of physics for how it does not go in. But at some point, you have to start wondering, is it the focus in those moments that is lacking? Sometimes you need a change, and that's exactly what we're seeing here tonight from Bob Lilly's side.
Not that you've ever gone through those stretches.
It's confidence. Yeah. I have, and it is terrible. But that's why one of the biggest keys to success for this Lou City side tonight is getting the first goal. The longer they let this Pittsburgh Riverhounds side stay in it, the more that confidence grows with a team that's struggling to score, struggling.
Oh, Gonzalez, what a ball. It bounced off the chest of Harris and right to Rudolph.
Struggling to get points on the board in general, as we see Wilson Harris upset about that. One that he normally drops down and volleys into the back of the net. Absolutely no problem. I love the patience from this Lou City side, and what a cheeky delivery into the chest of Wilson Harris. He will expect himself to do better with that one, no doubt about it. One thing Lou City is going to Pittsburgh is going to have to do better is making sure that they don't lose sight of that backside run from Harris. He does such a good job of creating seams, creating channels with his movement off the ball. And Pittsburgh is focusing on that collective defending, so they want numbers to be scored.
Highmark Stadium is a smoke-free and vape-free
sure
facility.
For the
safety and consideration of all our guests, we ask for your full cooperation. Thank you for keeping Highmark Stadium safe and smoke-free.
You can stay this one, Wes. Get your breath. Jansen, higher.
Morris. Header snapped right into Rudolph. Jorge Gonzalez couldn't quite believe that hung up for him.
And Morris with a long delivery and a misclear from Danny Griffin. And just right at Randolph. Don't get me wrong, he's come up big in close range shots, but has he really been tested? I would venture to say not. And look, Lou City is going to get chances. There is no denying that. It's your ability to minimize the impact of those chances, right? By creating angles that are tough to finish, by knocking a player over a little bit off balance just as they're going to strike the ball. Those little things matter in terms of keeping a team who you know is going to get chances off the board entirely.
Show me square. And the ball got lost at the halfway line. Nearly got to Johnson. Over to Jorge Gonzalez. Played a little in the 9, a little out wide. Can play as the 10.
The Pittsburgh Riverhounds
versatile fixture for Louisville City.
Would like to recognize the teachers in attendance for their hard work over the past school year. If you're a teacher, please stand at this time and join us in a warm round of applause.
Teacher appreciation, something you and I can both get behind. Your mom, my wife, part of that outstanding group of people giving back every day.
The question is, though, does your wife approach people in the grocery store asking if she taught them like my mother does, or is that like a teacher thing, or is that a my mom thing?
If she has, I haven't noticed it yet. It's something I'll keep an eye on.
Do you go to the grocery store? That's the bigger question at hand.
I make sure to get there from time to time.
Hey, it's 6-0, Matt. It's 6-0.
Injury here, little knock.
6-0, Matt.
So an injury here for Louisville. It was everything we thought it would be in terms of physicality here at the outset. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Highmark Stadium. The plans here for Tuffy Schallenberger and this Riverhounds team is to expand this venue. They've been selling it out now for the last couple of years, had a great run in the Open Cup, and I'd be remiss not to mention that the father of the Riverhounds owner, Tuffy Schallenberger, TC, passed away on April the 30th at the age of 84. I spoke to Bob Lilly the following week, and he said for so many years, he was at most of the home games, but tellingly talked about how TC would have Tuffy around job sites 5, 6 years old. Tuffy and his family ultimately have poured so much into this Riverhounds organization, and certainly he brings the exact same work ethic that his dad always possessed to the Riverhounds organization. Certainly on everybody's mind, Father's Day this past weekend. All of our very best and our condolences to the Schallenberger family. Bob Lilly spoke so lovingly about TC. Everybody's back up here. Sharpie looking to make his way back in. Meanwhile, Etu is down. A 30-year-old from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. All over 100 games playing in France, then came to Charlotte, eventually Tampa Bay, seemingly under the radar at every stop, but always playing for winners. Which is a pretty telling trait.
He is impressive, no doubt, and in this match particularly, I'd focus on pushing towards Etu in terms of his consistency with chance creation. He's one of the best for this Riverhound side.
Fans, please remember that Highmark Stadium is a family-friendly environment. We ask that you enjoy yourself, but also do so in a responsible way that's considerate of those around you. Thank you so much for
Tossed
joining
into
us.
Johnson.
That's a foul, man! It's the same fucking thing! It's the same fucking thing!
Comes to Forbes. There's Griffin. Biasi. Touch that sends wide. This is Rivera. Sample. End line. Hangs the service. The run had come too far. Mushagalusa was practically on the goal line. Had Etu arriving at the back post as well. Here's Griffin. Bouncing ball. Etu won't give in here. Ran that all the way to the end line. I'm from the Paul Child stand. It's a goal kick. The 22-year-old from Illinois, Damian Loss, makes his 14th start this year. Makes the move up the pyramid after being the title-winning goalkeeper of the year in MLS Next Pro at Austin FC2 last year. Forbes, excellent slip ball. Mushagalusa, not to be, offside. And the first glimmer for Pittsburgh fans of what Enoch Mushagalusa, known as Matiti at times, is the back of the jersey nameplate in Louisville, can provide.
And I love the creativity of the run. Mushagalusa goes wide.
Are you looking to spice things up?
And then the run is tucked inside. I know it was offside, but really the right decision there. That's a tough angle to try and hit the near post. Slap that one back across the face of goal for an easy tap into the back post. Like, those are the small decisions that really have been separating Pittsburgh in terms of a draw, a win, sometimes even a loss. Box organization was something that Bob Lilly talked to us about. He said that it's not great right now, and that falls, he ultimately said that falls on him as a head coach, but it also falls on both the server and the players making the run. More so the players making the run, because sometimes when you're going at pace, it is really difficult to always pick your head up and take a look to see who exactly is where. But knowing that you have a player near far slot, that makes the service delivery a little bit easier, and something to keep an eye on tonight.
Morris, that's easily defended. Griffin came up. Johnson won't bother with that. All the way down to Sharpie, who was cleared to return after taking a knock before. That's 30 minutes in. Hydration break in sweltering.
Hydration break.
Nearly 90-degree temperatures in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and Louisville scoreless, which has been a pretty common score line. Pittsburgh set 10th. Louisville in first place. You could argue this might be the team's best chance to ever secure that #1 seed that they've yet to acquire. And starting this Saturday, they'll be doing so in a different looking kit. Everyone talks about the thirds, right? If Liverpool can wear green, everyone can wear a different color from time to time.
If that's the standard.
In the case of Louisville, they've decided to add a little bit of blue to their kit now. An ambitious 10th anniversary alternate kit, one that Danny Cruz was quick to say, I thought it was pretty slick. I think some of the supporters understandably are thinking purple's our color, but so often you'll see in the international game, that third kit's supposed to have a little spice, a little flavor to it.
I was going to say, I like a little change up from time to time. I am with head coach Danny Cruz. I love a blue. I think it makes things stand out.
They're in the gold tonight. Whatever they wear.
That service to the backside runner who is more in a 1v1 situation, that is on. And for Pitt, really, the space in behind is on. As we see two players going head-to-head on the same team. But that space in behind is on, and I think that they can win the foot race with some of the new pieces that they put into the attacking rotation. My place of improvement for Pittsburgh right now is their energy to win the second ball. There's a little bit lax in terms of winning the second phase as we take a look at this replay.
That's Hogan from the left and Etu from the right.
And just as I say that, both players really committing to trying to win that and get the ball up the field quite quickly. The more they can do that, the more successful they will be in terms of releasing players in a foot race quickly.
Well, with the collision of heads, the athletic training staff comes out to attend to this. This is the USL Championships Wednesday night featured game here on CBS Sports Network. You can see the athletic trainer working on Hogan has already suggested that a substitute might be needed. And so while Pittsburgh had to make a change about half an hour into the first meeting between these teams by choice, this may be by necessity. On a hardly frosty night in Pittsburgh. And Hogan continues to be looked at here. Looks like he's got a pretty substantial leak at this stage. Hogan was a trialist coming out of Charleston, ultimately signed. Etu back to his feet. And Hogan, yeah, you can see this is a pretty substantial injury to Hogan. One that'll certainly take him out here tonight. 26-year-old primarily features as a center back.
Ali, both come off, right?
You can see Bob Lilly suggesting the formation change while they get everyone up and at him. A 4-4-1 to see out the next few minutes.
Both players have to come off.
Etu was attended as well, so he'll need to step off for a short while. You saw the motion for a sub for Hogan. You'll see whether or not that proves to be more of a laceration or a more lasting issue as it pertains to tonight. Certainly not superfluous to say it's important with any head injury that you get players the assistance they need as quickly as you can. You take the time to get it right. Etu being allowed to remain as Hogan comes off for the time being. Foul from Johnson. Looks like Pierre Caille is the one who's going to come on here in a moment for his 5th appearance for the Hounds this year. With that being a head injury, it will fall under the concussion substitute rule, you would think. One that would allow each team an additional window and a 6th, one additional sub. So something to keep in mind as we go through the game. Morris hangs up across. And a corner for Louisville City. Set pieces were impressive for Lou City against Tampa Bay on the weekend.
And a key to what Danny Cruz feels like will get them on the board here early against Pittsburgh. Winning the set piece battle, having that ferocious mentality in and around the 18-yard box in dead ball situations.
We have a substitution for the Riverhounds. Coming out of the match, number 3, Patch Hogan.
That's it for
And
Hogan. Here comes Caille.
44, Pierre Caille.
Corner whipped in, seeking Ordonez. Forbes, better safe than sorry. Here's Jansen Wilson, one of 3 trialist signees in this Louisville roster. Wilson, open header, and Randolph just got a fingertip to it. Seeking Forbes up high, trying to hold up play. Adams. Harris is hunting. There's Randolph. That was a great moment of goalkeeping for a guy making just his 2nd pro start.
And a guy who earned his way into the starting role based off what he has been doing in training in recent weeks.
I mean, look, by the numbers, Dick has been good.
Oh, yeah.
9 goals allowed in 10 games. But there's been an inconsistency within that goalkeeping unit. And Bob Lilly's never been afraid to try and get the goalkeeping position right, even if from the outside it feels a bit erratic relative to some other managers.
When you have a player, goalkeeper or outfield player, that is consistently the better one in training, there comes a point where you have to put them in this situation to see what they're capable of. And he is young, but these are valuable minutes to test the shot stopper that he is, the leader that he is, and on a match like today, communication with his back 3, especially as a new center back steps into that role, will be crucial for the remainder of this match.
And Randolph looks on now. There's a 2-0 loss at Hartford. Nishi Galina, a former young player of the year in the league, bagging both goals inside 16 minutes. It's a long way out here. Davila and Morris do possess a particular set of skills. That's not the ticket. Sometimes the best laid plans, right?
The old college try.
Yeah. Skip the college thing, went right into Columbus. Lands in Louisville. Forbes. Ordonez was wise. He knows this field as well as anybody after the last couple of years. Morris. A more enticing ball this time. Louisville 3 points ahead of the flying Indy 11, 8 straight wins for them. And the Charleston Battery, who started on fire, they'll play the title game rematch against Phoenix on Saturday night on ESPN2. Have a game in hand on both that they're elapsing right now. Morris pulls it back. Able to find Showme. Gonzalez smashes that right at Randolph.
That's an excellent build-up, and Lou City continues to find success down this left-hand side with Morris. A pinpoint delivery to the top of the box, and Weiner's first touch lets him down just a bit. In a perfect world, he would have had a prep touch and sent that one smashing into the back of the net. It sets up his teammate well enough, Jorge Gonzalez. He can't do much with it.
Griffin.
Come on, Jola!
Driven long from Mushagalusa. Attacks against Adams. Those two were swapped for one another from San Diego to Louisville and vice versa last year. Hung over by Rivera, sent out toward the halfway line. And kept by the Hounds.
Really get connected!
Overcooked. To be fair, it feels like everything's a bit overcooked today.
Couldn't agree more. I think that they have the right idea, but the execution just not there. I think the fans would prefer a little bit of a mist right now as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sort of feels like they're running on charcoal briquettes tonight. It is a heated evening. And yet, relative to the Phoenix-Charleston game that you and I have on ESPN2 on Saturday night, where the projected game time temp is a dry 112.
I don't care what you say, 112 is still 112.
You know, we were chatting with Ben Pierman today, and he acknowledged that. Dry or wet doesn't matter.
You were like, it's not humid.
No,
he
not
was
at
like,
112.
it's 112, Mike.
Yep. Set long corralled by Biasi. He's really struggling to deal with it. Approaching 45 minutes tonight at Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh. Wilson Harris, the league's second leading scorer, trying to find his way, his longest run out in the last 4 due to injury. 7 added minutes. There's the hydration break and then the extended stoppage to attend to Patrick Hogan, both between the 29th and 35th minute. Johnson back to his feet. And that's overplayed. Pittsburgh had the best home record in the championship last year. That helped them arrive to their Players' Shield title. Louisville this year, to be fair, appears well on their way to doing just that. 7 games at Lynn Family Stadium, 7 wins. Yet still looking for one of those big marquee road victories. I feel like there's been a noticeable dip away from Lynn Family. Free kick to come for Davila.
Gotta keep in mind too for this Blue City side that was a really tough match that they played against Tampa Bay, conceding in the 92nd minute. And in that match, a combined 45 fouls in an also hostile, humid environment. So the midweek game definitely affects preparation in terms of what you can do with players on the field.
Swivels into the air. Gonzalez trying to get after it. Tried to chip it over Rivera, who held his ground. Good turn by Morris. He got taken off the ball. That was clean. And Matt Thompson has heard enough from the bench. Danny Cruz showing a yellow card.
No, it's one-sided. Like it always is with you.
You've heard Danny all half. And the thing is, he goes, this is not ground where you play the most beautiful football and you win the game. It's a battle here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, he knew this
is.
wasn't going to be a clean game. Absolutely. So take his arguments with the referee, knowing that. He's not expecting this to be a pretty football match whatsoever.
Here's Sean Suber. Forbes, the first touch. Plays it by Adams. Johnson went down, and without a whistle. There have been penalties given or conceded each of the last 4 Louisville City games. Forbes, little flick on, aimed at goal, that's narrowly high. Danny Griffin nearly scored an absolute banger. Wow.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Absolutely no question about it. That was a missile, and Bradley Sample, so well done just to get this one into the mixer. He checks his shoulder before making that little flick on. Danny Griffin with the perfect decision to take that one time. But Mike, that has been the story of this Pittsburgh side. Narrow misses, quality chances.
And earlier in this game, even when they had a shot, they'd hit the post, it was offside by a small margin. They still smashed the post. It's been one of those years for Pittsburgh. The lowest conversion rate in the league, 9%, tied with Birmingham, who are one of the other 7 teams playing tonight.
And guess what? You wouldn't have such a low conversion rate if you didn't have a discrepancy in the chances you were creating, right? If they weren't creating anything and they still had maybe 11 goals, I don't think that we'd see such a big number in the discrepancy for the conversion rate. But because they are creating so many quality opportunities and not finishing them, that's where that number comes into play. I know that doesn't really make anybody feel better. But, you know, we asked Bob Lilly, is it more frustrating to be this close versus just saying it's not your season?
Right.
He said absolutely, because at what point, what difference can you do?
Ordonez, 1 foul too many. And the man for whom Pittsburgh fans swooned for the last few years, out of pit, Defender of the Year last year for the Riverhounds, booked.
There's a yellow card against Louisville City FC. It's on number
Center back playing on a yellow
Arturo
against a really
Antonio.
physical front two that Pittsburgh has put out tonight. You have to think in the second half, questions will be asked.
You do have Sean Tosh on the bench if you're Louisville as well. You decide to make a change. Tapped in play by Forbes. Griffin. Swept up high. Here's Forbes. The numbers are still forward. Forbes chipping for Etu. Well, half a minute remaining in this half. What do you make out of these, let's call it 52 or so minutes?
Once Pittsburgh started to get committed to winning the second ball, I thought we saw them have more dangerous opportunities in terms of being able to release players quickly. What I don't think they're doing well enough, in a space that they should look to in the second half, is that space right in front of the back line. We talk about them playing with a supporting striker. Can you find the second striker's feet and then lay it off to an oncoming midfielder and find that vertical run in behind and perhaps have more success there? Blue City, I think that they're doing a really good job of trying to go forward without opening themselves up too much, finding a lot of success on the left-hand side. If they can continue to do that and find that 1v1 on the back post, I think eventually one of those quality chances will find the back of the net.
Bob Lilly and the Riverhounds staff will have a chat before heading inside and trying to make some adjustments. You can argue these are two of the best adjustment staffs in the league. That makes for an exciting second half to come on this Juneteenth holiday in Pittsburgh. The Riverhounds and Louisville City. Stop me if you've heard it before. 0-0 at the half on CBS Sports Network.
Wheat market to grow and distribute milkweed plants, which are
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on this Wednesday night. You see the Players Shield banner on the left side of your screen. After all, these Riverhounds, the best in the league last year, 6 winless at this stage, taking on Louisville City. Welcome back into the booth, everybody. That's Marion Crowder, the former Georgia Bulldog, Mike Watts as well. Marion, that first half, I think Bob Lilly was calling for more collective defending from his group. I think we saw that.
I think that they have done enough. There were some mishaps that we saw, especially as the minutes were beginning to open. But as they went into the first half and they got a little bit more of the ball further up the field, it obviously fed into their ability to track back and have that collective defending. Isolation is not going to serve them well, and we'll see if they can keep that up in the second half.
Take a look at the halftime highlights between these teams. If you're Louisville, you nearly created a chance, showing me getting on Randolph. That's really the only mistake he's made.
Exactly, and this is where we're talking about they've done enough, right? He has to make up for the mistake, but he does so well enough. As we start to look to the 20th minute, get used to me saying this. Lou City takes on the left-hand side. They serve it across to the back post, and then Wilson Harris will be the unfavorable player for this one that does not do enough with it off of his chest. And not a minute later, left-hand side, long throw. Who's coming in on the backside? Jorge Gonzalez. Also missed time that one just a bit.
Couldn't get enough power on it. A little too much power from Danny Griffin. Otherwise, we're talking about the goal of the year.
This was an almost absolute missile to the upper bin, but that's been the story for Pittsburgh, and this was really the only quality opportunity that we saw from this Riverhound side in the first 45.
Take a look at the halftime stats. Louisville, a marginal possession advantage, but also 13 fouls in this game. It was as physical as we were told it was going to be.
And that's why those lineup changes were made coming into this game. We do have Arturo Ordonez on a yellow card. We'll see if he stays in this match in the second half, and then we'll see what other changes we get as Pittsburgh really looks to rally the energy.
All right, it's halftime here in Pittsburgh. This is one of the most beautiful vistas in American soccer. The Pittsburgh skyline across the Monongahela River from Highmark Stadium. A look at the expansion around the league coming up next.
And ladies and gentlemen, these 2023-24 Academy players have 4 teams competing in nationals. Join us in congratulating them on another successful season.
Built into the hillside here in Pittsburgh, Riverhounds and Louisville City. Scoreless at halftime on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back into the booth, everybody. That's Marion Crowder, Mike Watts as well. And there's something to be said about the bubbling excitement ongoing as the championship begins to reach its summer months. And League One not only has its season ongoing, but the inaugural Jägermeister Cup as well. There's also expansion to talk about, Marion. And if you look at the championship, Weah, Tebow, we've got the Tims coming into the league, and don't forget Howard's got a piece of Memphis as well.
It's just so exciting to see what these clubs, although not playing yet, are already doing in and around their community. You look at Sporting Jacks, Mike, a broadcast deal already with First Coast News. Guess who is the legendary contributor to that? Becky Burley, University of Florida.
Wonderful. Meanwhile, Brooklyn set to begin play both in the Super League and in the championship in 2025. There's a lot more coming to League One for sure, including Naples being announced this past week. A lot of excitement, and it's reasonable to see that in part because that League Cup, Jägermeister Cup, it's got the result they were looking for. A lot of goals and a lot of competition early in the year.
And just a lot of traction across the country as a whole. And as we take a look at some of these, I've got to give a shout out to Santa Barbara Sky FC. Look, you got to go to their website. They have a Vibes playlist already with 83 songs on it. You look at Westchester FC, Tyrod Taylor just joined the ownership group for those guys. And Portland, Heart of Pines, Here's my favorite part, the soccer club of Maine.
I love that. And Hearts of Pine, that's some kind of logo. Portland brought it, no doubt about that. They're all set to join League One here in 2025. You don't have to wait that long. We've got action for you, a whole second half to come. It is a steamy night in Pittsburgh, and these two sides bubbling a bit. Pittsburgh and Louisville, is there a winner to be had tonight? Next 45, next on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back. Bob Lilly and the Riverhounds going to try and change the momentum of this half. Their first win in 7 against the Louisville side that is 8 consecutive games without a loss until this most recent loss to Tampa Bay on the weekend. The stylings of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It was filmed in the PBS studios here in Pittsburgh. That was sort of the home base of one of the great television series of all time. Rings out here ahead of halftime. And on to the second half we go on this Wednesday night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Go ahead. I know you want to.
Marion here is so young and young at heart and soul that she didn't even know who Mr. Rogers was, and I'm devastated by that.
No, go ahead and call in our producer as well.
Yeah, Brady doesn't know either. He knew it existed.
But in fact, he said that Tom Hanks was indeed Mr. Rogers.
In a movie. Randolph off to a pretty decent start in that opening 45. Anywho, we'll have a discussion about this. I know we will.
You won't let me forget it. That I do know.
Well, notably for Louisville, Wilson Harris will go the second half. Ball drops in here for Pittsburgh. Maybe an early opportunity, and it was an ambitious effort from Kennardo Forbes. Forbes, an assist late in the 2015 final. He played for Bob Lilly, that title-winning side, one that rewrote the defensive record books. One of the greatest teams in championship history. And when Bob Lilly made the move down to Pittsburgh in 2018, one of the many so-called river rhinos that made the trek from Rochester, raging rhino country, down to the Steel City. If you don't know Mr. Rogers, there's no way you're aware of the raging rhinos.
You've been staring at me for the past 4 minutes. I knew that was coming. Forgive and forget, Mike, but life is not easy that way.
That's something you'd expect here from Mr. Rogers. Anywho, picked up by Louisville. Here's Ordonez. Marion mentioned it ahead of halftime. Ordonez on a yellow card. Biasi on a yellow the other way. Only one sub in the first half. It was due to a head injury. It was Patrick Hogan who went down, was replaced by Pierre Caille. Ordonez seeking Wilson Harris, the league's second leading goal scorer. Here comes Forbes. He was stymied, so he pumps the brakes. Jansen Wilson pointing out front. Wilson pulls this across. Gonzalez inside, away from Winder. Wilson! Oh, yes! Jansen Wilson! A long-range effort that puts Louisville ahead on the road!
And here we
Louisville
see
City
exactly
FC
how it
goal.
happened. He's not only the starter of this attack, but also the finisher. A player who did well to cut inside, draw numbers to himself, and then Winder does just enough to lay that one back for one of the best finishes you will see this week.
49th minute, his third of the season. Came out of Belmont, twice an All-Missouri Valley Conference selection from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And Danny Cruz and his side find the breakthrough from Jansen Wilson. He actually trained with the club for 2 summers, came in as a trialist in preseason, and he earned the starting job on opening day. If you think about the available outside backs for Louisville City, that is a stunning array of talent, not the least of which even some of the more versatile players, think Sam Gleadle, could very easily be playing outside back. Aiden McFadden, Amadou Dia, available off the bench tonight. Jansen Wilson's run with it. Damian Loss shakes it off. Picks his head up. Outside back, they've done a really good job over the years of finding some pretty remarkable players out of trials or lesser known situations. Oscar Menez, Kyle Smith, who's continued to have a great MLS career in Orlando. Kyle Smith actually had to pay for his tryout. Long for Mushagalusa. Wilson. Showing me. Ball back across the face of goal and nearly tapped home by Wilson Harris. That defensive header to keep it away from Gonzalez nearly sparked a whole different problem. Here's a problem of a different ilk in transition. Mushagalusa! What a dagger that would have been thrown at his former team. Enoch Mushagalusa marching downfield on a solo mission, but it was Louisville first.
End-to-end, box-to-box, and this is the matchup that we expected, the way that we expected both of these teams to start the second 45 minutes. And it's a well done by Danny Griffin, just to track on the backside. He gets it up into a transitional moment. Mushagalusa sees his opportunity, tries to take it on a goalkeeper in Damian Loss, who has been tested all but once so far in this match.
And that is Louisville's 40th goal of the season, most in the league, and currently on a record-breaking pace, nearly 3 goals a game, trying to catch one of the great Phoenix Rising teams of yesteryear.
Coming into this game, you look at the Phoenix side, who the record is 89. They were averaging about 2.62 goals per game. And Lou City was at just at 2.78.
On pace potentially to shatter that. Ball through, bounces away from Harris. Gonzalez knocked it down. Ball for Mushagalusa. Came off of Ordonez.
Vince, you picked the song. It's time to move it, move it. It's time for Riverhounds corner.
Corner here for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Hounds winless back to July of 23. 9 matches when conceding first. They're trying to equalize here, 54 minutes in. Forbes offering. That was a whistle gone. A gesture of a push from Matt Thompson.
That was so soft.
Pittsburgh, Louisville here tonight. We've got a doubleheader coming on ESPN2 this weekend. Monterey Bay and Oakland kickoff 6 Eastern time. Then Phoenix and Charleston went all the way to penalties in the final last year in Charleston. They'll play in the desert in Phoenix Saturday night. And 2 games on CBS. Sunday, July 21st, Oakland and Sacramento. And we'll head to Detroit on August the 3rd for Detroit City and Rhode Island. USL Championship.com for the full TV schedule.
Surfside Splashdown, number 12 on the season, brought to you by Surfside Vodka. Number 12 on the Surfside Splashdown.
Ordonez. Sent long, Etu battling tooth and nail with Wilson. Out of the line. Louisville attempting to keep an unbeaten run in their history away to Pittsburgh. Points always at a premium for opposition. Take a look at this. Only 17 losses in the last 6.5 years. That's since Bob Lilly took over in 2018 at Highmark Stadium. 34 draws, but the vast majority that arrive here end up losing here. Not Louisville, not yet.
Ali, is there a water break after?
Hey Hounds fans, this summer marks a milestone. Eden Park, the place for smiles, is celebrating its 75th anniversary. All summer long, every game, we're spreading smiles with our smiley row of the game. Tonight's winners are seated in section 103, row D. Let's make some noise for our smiley row.
It'll be Harris or Davila. Hung into the box, caught by Randolph. Grimaces back to his feet. Went D2 to Barton College, transferred to UNC Wilmington. Started 15 games last year, clean sheets in half of them. Was actually a field player until he was 15 years old. The goalkeeper at his club broke his foot. So all of a sudden, as so many great distributing goalkeepers these days, made the switch and never left. Surprised, Marion, you never got your chance in goal.
Why do you do this? You know that they can't see me. They don't know. They didn't have to know I had a box in the open.
Yeah.
All 5 foot nothing of me. Goodness.
Kaye circumnavigates.
It's never ending.
It's not.
Truly.
Yep. Louisville all 6 shots on target to this point. Mushagalusa, edge of the penalty area, into the spin cycle. Domineering header toward the halfway line. And a free kick to Pittsburgh. trying to bounce back tonight. The Steel Army, the supporters, the great supporters here in Pittsburgh, actually time the post-game huddles. They're a bit legendary with Bob Lilly. 51 minutes nearly, passing the unofficial previous record of 46 minutes. Want to have a happier huddle tonight. They'll need to come from behind to do it. Ball whipped in, away by Adams. Flipped into the air. Header back across from Suber. Down from Winder, up from Griffin. Rivera. He got bottled up. Stays with Pittsburgh. Winder showing me. Harris showing me, charging down the line. Bypassing Ordonez. Jansen Wilson. Off that Harris, a glancing blow. Wilson Harris only had 7 touches in the first half. It's a guy who's hanging in the Golden Boot conversation despite missing the last 2 games prior to his 20-minute substitute appearance on the weekend against Tampa Bay. Nick Marcanic started on fire, 12 goals, but he and the Battery offense have gone a bit dormant now. 308 minutes without a goal for the team. That's that dynamic duo for the Rowdies, Jennings and Arteaga, 9 goals apiece. Kaye. Through for Etu. Johnson wants it, Etu plays it, sent away. Mushagalusa recovers. Mushagalusa seeking the back post, header down and wide. Whistle gone as well.
And that's exactly what Pittsburgh needs to do more of. Etu has done such an excellent job of staying wide in the channel. He finds that, feeds it through to Danny Rivera on the back post, who just doesn't do enough with it. But in the first half, there were so many times where Etu was wide, in that wide channel, asking for it, calling for it. He can have that first touch forward and that early service in behind the back line to the oncoming Emmanuel Johnson. They just didn't get the ball switched over to his side enough. A lot of that was because they spent the majority of the first half defending on their right-hand side against Louisville, who was going down the left-hand side for the majority of the time in the first half. And now we see this Lou City side playing heavily towards the right-hand side.
Ordonez slipped by.
But you get a feeling, Mike, especially when a team is lacking confidence in front of goal, they're lacking points, where you go down early again and you're at home, you get this feeling of, oh no, not again. And you've got to fight with everything you have as a player, as a leader on this team, to try and pick up that spirit and stay out of that mental rut. It's all too easy to fall into, and Pittsburgh would do really well to tack on to some momentum, somebody make a big tackle, somebody win a big challenge, any kind of individual effort to try and get some life and energy back into this Riverhound side.
Louisville preparing their first sub in a moment's time. Kaye drops that to Suber. We'll come back Whoa, Harris made contact with Thompson, it appeared. And if Wilson Harris is smart, he will find a different area of the field to stand on. And it's worth noting, about 10 different players have surrounded the referee at this stage. And you can see the two captains there have taken over the negotiations, Adams and Griffin. Now, it's worth noting that the championship does not have VAR. And so what the referee, and to be fair, the ARs and the fourth can provide that assistance as well, saw in that moment is ultimately what stands.
All who are in very close proximity to that. It wasn't like it was on the far side of the field.
No, the fourth was maybe 30 feet away. Nearly a yellow for Wilson Harris.
And here's the initial foul. Harris gets held up by Biasi is what's frustrating him. And then he's asking for a card, and I have to say, Matt Thompson, you saw in that moment him thinking what he could have done. He chose not to. And Wilson Harris, count your lucky stars today.
We have substitutions for both teams.
And this appears to be a sub that was already in the cards, but at this stage, probably the right one. Harris off, Sam Gleadle comes on. And then there's a trio of subs coming here for Pittsburgh. Johnson, his first start concludes, and Canardo Forbes makes his way off. Forbes, the new all-time joint leader in appearances. He'll have a chance to own the record by his lonesome at North Carolina on the weekend. Kizza on for Johnson. Kazim Sterling into the game. Another attacking player, and then Robbie Mertz, the Pittsburgh native. Mushagalusa's debut concludes here for Pittsburgh.
And in his place, number 45, Keziah Sterling.
So if you're Pittsburgh, you pretty well shuffled the deck right there. You bring in Mertz, who can so eloquently combine the lines, and then two attacks.
Unfavorable opportunity against that Hartford match that he saw go off one post and completely out of bounds.
Hold on, Wes! Hold on, Arturo!
Canardo Forbes, championship.
Fans, just a reminder that after the match,
winner,
players will be signing autographs on the pitch.
Jamaican international.
Stick around and meet the team. Presented
One of
by
the best
King
playmakers in USL Championship history that came out of the Arena League in Syracuse to sign with Rochester. It was that Arena League existence that sharpened a lot of that close-range skill set. You know that as well as anybody. A little bit of futsal goes a long way on a tight field.
There's a reason why most coaches, even at the college level, will spend the spring season in an environment just like that.
Well, in a lot of places, it's because it's cold too, right?
Well,
Yeah.
played at the University of Georgia. It wasn't that cold, and they
No.
still did it.
Yeah, you guys were good there.
But yes, you are fair. I mean, what, Pitt probably has to play in snow? You can count me out.
They've definitely pulled a plow over this field once or twice. No doubt about it. Rivera. Ordonez. Flicked on toward Gleadle. It's worth noting Wilson Harris was probably on a minute restriction tonight. It's the most he's played in a game in about 3.5 weeks.
Keep coming, Sam! Keep coming, Sam! Yes!
It's also worth noting once more just how different Louisville City's next match could look if Matt Thompson doesn't take a moment to collect himself. I think that was excellent, an excellent job by the referee to sit back, let his fourth, let his AR talk to him, assess what they all see as a group, and not do anything rash that's going to affect a player and more than just these next 30 minutes.
All nodded away. Jansen Wilson scored the go-ahead. Into Winder. He got knocked down. Play continues. Gonzalez playing forward. That'll be a corner. And the referee will come back and show a yellow as well for the previous contact. Winder waves his hand. Etu is booked.
Yellow card against the Riverhounds, number 8, Junior Etu.
And it seemed like as this attack continued, a nasty tackle from Etu. Pittsburgh knew that it was going to be a foul and stopped playing. They almost got caught sleeping there, but Elijah Winder, he has turned into such a physical presence in the midfield for this Lou City side.
Corner. And again, plenty of contact. This will belong to the Hounds. You know, part of the conversation we have with Danny Cruz this week, a lot of coaches don't really want to be pragmatic anymore. This is our style and we'll win in this style. There's certain locales, opponents. The pragmatic approach is what makes you a champion sometimes. Louisville's been certainly pragmatic tonight. Griffin trailing. Griffin up for Kizza! Ordonez challenged. Louisville can't quite believe that that's not a foul. And Ordonez remains horizontal.
Danny Griffin orchestrating things, finds himself in a service.
And Ordonez receives some attention.
Hey fans, before the autograph session, be sure to stay in your seats as we light up the sky with a pyrotechnics show. Presented by the
Pyrotechnic show tonight
Airport
after the game.
Iceland
They'd like to
Air.
light a firework or two
Pittsburgh
before then.
International
Kizza
Airport flies nonstop to Iceland
right on that
4 days
offside
a
line. The
week
Louisville
with Iceland
players
Air.
were suggesting
Look
that this
now
was
at
off. Take a look as this ball
icelandair.com.
leaves Griffin's foot. And him just taking those crawl hops forward. Might be right in line with Ordonez.
I think he's off. I think he's off just barely. I think Ordonez did a good enough job to keep his feet planted. And as you mentioned, those little crow hops just at the last second, right before Danny Griffin was able to get it off his foot, he inches forward just a bit too much.
Ordonez gets taped up. He picked up a bit of a laceration on his leg. Play on. Getting down toward the end line. Louisville hasn't just beaten teams. Oftentimes, they've blown teams out of the water. There was an expectation. This is not the place to expect multiple goals, much less the 4 or 5 that they've hung on teams at times this year.
But what they can improve on is closing matches out.
Mm-hmm.
They have been now 4 matches without a shutout. They went down in the 34th to Detroit, even though it was a 5-1 sloshing. They went down in the 61st to Miami, who leveled it at 1, ended up with a 2-1 win there, but put themselves in a position to have to force them to come back. And then in North Carolina, It ends up being a 2-1 win, but you concede in the 92nd minute. And then in their final match before coming into this one against Tampa Bay, the third goal was also in the 92nd. So there's got to be an emphasis now. You've got the lead. Can you close out to make this a full 90-minute performance?
Hold-up play on display from showing me. That North Carolina game, Danny Cruz said it. There's a big difference between defending 2-0 and defending 2-1 at the end of a game. Especially at a really heavy moment. Nearly 40 days of travel in a 2-month stretch between the Open Cup and the league. Schedule makers did no favors this time of year. Long throw into the penalty area. Kept away from Gleedle. Whoa, Randolph.
Randolph's been confident coming off of his line tonight. A little bit of a difference in how we saw him play against Hartford, but that was an emphasis that Bob Lilly mentioned to him when they were talking about what he could have done better in that match against Hartford. There were a few times where he could have come off his line to collect a service, treating it more like a shot as opposed to moving his feet to try and get across the end line. And we see that he has received that message loud and clear. At times, to a sometimes detriment, but.
Whoa. Referee pulling out a yellow.
I'm hoping those just fell.
And that is a second yellow. That is a sending off for Biasi, who picked up a yellow in the first half. And Pittsburgh will finish with 10 men.
That's the second yellow card of the match for number 13, Luke Biasi for Pittsburgh.
Bad to worse for the Riverhounds.
Can't do that. You cannot do that playing on a yellow. It's too evident.
We also have a substitution for
too
Louisville
promising
City.
of a transitional moment.
Coming out, number 25,
You got done and
Jansen
made the wrong
Wilson.
decision.
And into the match, number 2, Aiden McFadden.
That's it for Jansen Wilson as Biasi trudges to the locker room. Wilson grabs a seat on the bench. Aiden McFadden will replace the outside back. We had a magnificent goal in the 49th minute. You mentioned it as it happened, Marion. He started it, he finished it.
And he does so well to invert his run. And what that does is it just draws numbers to him. Winder does such a good job making a little sloshing run right across the center backs. It actually gets caught up in his feet a little bit, but fortune favors the bold. And in that moment, it was Jansen Wilson.
A swashbuckling finish from Jansen Wilson, his third of the year. And Louisville ahead, trying to make it a 6-point lead over the top challengers in the East, Charleston and Indy. Indy's on a heater of late. Charleston started off on fire, seemed untouchable, and Danny Cruz made abundantly clear. We heard all the talk that Charleston was miles ahead. They always knew they had the points available to go catch them, and boy, have they done that. Louisville look like the most complete team in the championship right now. And they might be getting one of those rare wins away to Pittsburgh. Sterling pressuring, Ordonez played back, and Loss out to the halfway line.
And it's probably not talked about enough. You mentioned the scheduling, right? That being a factor, but this Louisville City team has gone through the ringer a little bit in terms of who they haven't had available of late. Wilson Harris is still really on a minutes restriction as he comes into this match not fully healthy. Adrian Perez, obviously their assist leader, out a little bit for a little bit of time. Brian Ombie still not on the field, so they're still missing some key pieces.
Ball through, Atu! Knocked out by Loss as it was dribbling through, sent out toward midfield. Kaye tried to hold it up. Sample, they were shouting to shoot like you'd hear at a Penguins game, and instead he sashayed it through to Atu. Had the best Pittsburgh chance yet.
And Kizza just doing well to get faced up there. And Bradley Sample, why not be a bit selfish? At the end of the day, it's a cheeky little run from Etu, who has been doing that all night, but Loss does so well to cut the angle off. And it goes back to the initial intuition. Bradley Sample picked his head up, looked at goal, and chose to be unselfish, but in that moment, you're chasing the game, why not?
Adams didn't get much on that. Here's Mertz. Griffin available. Slides through, Winder clears. There's Jacob Randolph. Seeking Etu. McFadden got Etu along the way. And Etu struggling. Etu's back up. And by the way, Louisville's schedule is absolutely crazy, and yet they still have the opportunity to play a couple of friendlies in July as Etu up and moving again. Cancun FC, side that finished in the upper half of the Mexican second division, and then the 6th place team in Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt, trekking all the way to Louisville, Kentucky on July the 30th. That's probably the showpiece international friendly of the USL season on July 30th. That Kaiserslautern there, that was in a monsoon and they still nearly packed the joint.
Tell me this, what do you think is the first thing that they'll try when they get to Louisville, Kentucky?
It's a liquid and it's not clear.
I have a feeling they're probably pretty excited about it.
I would think so. Every European team loves a good American adventure. Meanwhile, all the Americans want a European vacation. Ball through the penalty area. That's going to slip all the way through towards Shell and me. So tickets are available for that. Louisville City and Cancun, and then Louisville City and Frankfurt, a couple weeks apart in July. Louisville will hope by then they remain near the top of the Eastern Conference, or in this case, they could pull 6 points clear tonight. Gleadle, good give and go. Tried to slalom his way through, and Griffin will spin out of pressure. Sample held up well. Torquiza. Tough slide. Referee looks on, says play on. Winder went down under the Keziah Sterling foul.
And let it be known that Keziah Sterling has now made that foul at the top of his defensive 18-yard box. If that tells you anything for how the second half has gone for Pittsburgh. And the initial foul was more of a foul than that was. A bit of a makeup call in a more dangerous position from the head referee. That's shoulder to shoulder and shouldn't have been called.
Pittsburgh will pay the price regardless. Sterling's third appearance off the bench this year, 3 goals in about 800 minutes for the former English Youth International who came up through Tottenham's academy. And it looks like there was more to that than we initially saw in that first replay.
The Riverhounds take the road this Saturday, June 22nd, taking on North Carolina FC.
Regrettably, there's been a little too much bloodshed in this game.
On KDKA Plus and ESPN Plus.
So Winder is attended to.
Tonight's post-game meal partner is Dianoia's Eatery.
Well, Josh Winder certainly led the way. The younger brother already made his big money transfer overseas. Louisville Academy product, and Elijah Winder had to ultimately face a tougher path, a broken leg, a brutal broken leg. Suffered a couple of years ago in 2021. He was named the championship's comeback player of the year, but that's the infectious smile that you'll often see on Elijah Winder's face. Last year started 17 games And there were moments where you really saw what would make him special as the real engine of this midfield. But what we've seen this year is a guy that could very well get sold for a very large fee after that multi-year extension, or the kind of guy that, if you're fortunate enough to keep him around, could be the centerpiece of this team for a while.
Couldn't agree more. He is insanely versatile, and he could play in a box midfield. He could play perhaps in a diamond midfield. We already talked about the physical nature.
Morris went for goal, rung it off the post. Oh, wow, what a hit, and out of the backside, showing me off target. Well, Jake Morris has been a little scattershot on set pieces tonight. He missed this by a couple of inches.
This was near money. The perfect amount of finesse, the perfect amount of power. And it had Randolph beat had it been on frame. But Pittsburgh lives to fight for another 5 minutes plus stoppage time.
And there will be a lot of that. Ball through. Louisville looking for another. Angling in. That'll clear the stands. They'll find that in the parking lot. Now, we noted earlier that Louisville making some subs. Pittsburgh did pick up an additional sub due to a concussion substitute utilized in the first half. So both teams, in theory, have 6 available to them. Triple sub here. Tosh, McCabe, and Serrano enter into the game.
Number 21, Jorge Gonzalez.
Gonzalez showing me.
Number 11, Niall McCabe.
Checking out from Louisville City. Niall McCabe here from the start. Every coach that's come through Louisville, Connor, Hackworth, and now Danny Cruz, made clear Niall McCabe's role cannot be underestimated in this team. He's come off the bench now 11 times. He'll try and help the team seal a win here on the road in Pittsburgh, which, as mentioned earlier, infrequent to say the least.
Same side. Same side. Yes. Squeeze it.
I think it's a smart subs all around from Danny Cruz. Jorge Gonzalez has been excellent, but you no longer need him in this match. His runs off the ball were spot on. We maybe didn't see him touch it all that much, but he really created a lot of seams and a lot of channels for his teammates. And then Ordonez obviously on a yellow, no need to put him in a dangerous situation. Now McCabe, a player who can help you with his veteran experience close out a match like this. Excellent substitutions from Danny Cruz.
Went haywire for Sample there. Pittsburgh playing with 10 men for the first time in 14 months. You have to go back to April the 9th of last year. See them have a player sent off. Meanwhile, for Matt Thompson, 3rd red card issued in 7 games this year. Only Gerald Flores is given more. Back to Tosh. Bumped by Kizza. That's an aggressive placement for Sean Tosh, isn't it, in a 1-goal game?
It is. Truthfully, you shouldn't have more than 2 players up there trying to press. Really, the midfield should be clogged. The back line should be compact.
Between the 3 of you, not make that floor. Straight in the back.
Even if you're Elijah Winder right now, I'd drop in just a little bit deeper.
Does the fact the field itself is a little more compact than maybe you'd see in Louisville affect your thinking with that at all?
I think more than that, yes, and the reason it ties into it is because the importance of getting pressure on the service. When Pittsburgh has been good in this game in terms of the attack, they've been pinging 20, 30-yard balls into the feet of a player like Etu. So getting pressure on the service keeps that from happening, keeps the ball out of the back of your net.
Ball smash down came off Serrano, young player who had a tremendous start to the year, 8 goal contributions in 14. Sent for Kizza. Off that of Sharpie. 90th minute now. Etu skates through. Etu crossing. That's a corner for the Riverhounds. And there's going to be a lot of stoppage time as well. Sending off multiple injury stoppages.
Riverhounds fan, it's time for a Hounds corner kick.
Corner for Pittsburgh. To the back post, steered away. Griffin knocks it down. And this knocked way out. Couple of changes here. Be Langston Blackstock.
Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth. Bring them out, bring them out. Hey. Bring them out, bring them out. Bring them out, bring them out. Hey.
Subbing in for the Riverhounds. Firstly coming out, number 8, Junior
Etu comes off.
And in his place, number 7, Langston Blackstock.
Blackstock, couple of assists
Also
in 14
checking out,
games.
number 4, Danny Rovira.
Rivera off as well.
And in his place, number 70, Pablo Linswine.
Linswine
Also,
comes
ladies and
in.
gentlemen, there will be 8 minutes of
8 added
stoppage
minutes.
time. That's an extra 8 minutes to make some noise.
You've got another 8 minutes here, and then it turns out it's a Louisville doubleheader on CBS Sports Network tonight. Angel City hosting Racing Louisville later this evening. Kicks off around 10 o'clock. Sid LaRue and Angel City, and a Racing Louisville side led by Savannah DeMello, and one of the most personable coaches I've had the opportunity to be around in Bev Yanez. It's coming up here in about half an hour time here on CBS Sports Network. Sterling. Blasted into the stands. Pittsburgh fell behind in the 49th minute. Ball through. Kizza! Kizza! Unable to truly corral it. Pittsburgh knocking on the door, trying to find an equalizer late.
That was nearly a missed clearance by the substitute Tosh, and really not something, Mike, in the way that in the state that this game is, you can go in soft on. McFadden doing everything he can to hold Kizza back, and if you're Sean Tosh in that moment, you've got to put your foot through the ball. Fortunate and harmless in the end for Louisville City. But this is around the time where they have conceded in their previous matchups, and Danny Cruz will really want his team to make it a complete performance, because in truth they have been excellent tonight in terms of their response.
Kizza coming after it, loss. Picked up by Griffin. 5 minutes remaining. 6 winless for the Riverhounds. It's tied for the longest single season winless skid under Bob Lilly. Ball forward, away by Loss again. Putting his body on the line, and it got away from Griffin. And Loss remains on the ground.
He's been called upon multiple times in the last 90 seconds. Does well to come out and get that one, make no questions about it. Doesn't try to hold on to it, knows he's in a lot of traffic. Carries it well away. But this has been the sense of urgency we've been asking for from the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and you just have to wonder, is it too little too late?
Another great crowd here in Pittsburgh. Kizza to ground. By the way, Amadou Dia came in a moment ago. That is correct, his 6th sub. More on that in a moment. Ball into the penalty area, sent away off the foot of Mertz. And cleared. Dia allowed entrance because there was a concussion substitute utilized in the first half. It means both teams had the opportunity to use 4 windows and 6 subs as a result. So Dia came on for Morris. Serrano. He got wiped off the ball. Play continues. They played an amazing 2019 Eastern Conference final in this venue. He's down on that other end in front of the Paul Child. San Paulo del Piccolo scored the 118th minute winner between the teams. The whistle's gone again. This time it's Kizza chasing at the back of Tosh. More precious time ticks away.
Really, in the last 4 or 5 minutes, I've had to remind myself that Pittsburgh is playing a man down because finally their pressure, their urgency in the final third looks like a team who is desperate for points, which is exactly where Pittsburgh is. And waiting until you play a man down is not going to be the answer to your problems, but really these last 5 minutes have been excellent from the Riverhounds.
Kizza unable to corral McCabe upfield. Flicked on, and now Serrano bouncing toward Gleedle. Blackstock navigates over the line. Goal kick for Pittsburgh. We began this game talking about what a response looks like. For Louisville, Danny Cruz said the common refrain, the 2 losses they've suffered, Tampa Bay and Charleston. Can you honestly look at yourself in the mirror and say, I gave everything I could to that game? Well, Louisville's certainly done that tonight. They've gotten the response they were looking for. Bob Lilly's side at moments have shown that spark and excitement, and yet still they've struggled to find the net. McCabe chips it down into the corner with maybe a minute to go. Kaye got tossed. So time is of the essence now for Pittsburgh. Only a Jansen Wilson wonder goal in the 49th separates. Randolph forward. Sent long again. Randolph. Contact at the back of Serrano. Down into the corner, Gleedle. It's a matter of seconds remaining. Hung across to McFadden. The options there in front of goal. McFadden playing inside. McCabe. And Louisville appears poised to try and run out the clock. They have. Louisville City goes on the road, and again it's Pittsburgh's bugaboo. They have still never beaten Louisville at Highmark. And Lou City, 6 points clear atop the league. It's a 1-0 victory away to Pittsburgh.
Mike, Pittsburgh is in the thick of a bad time, and there's no way around it. They tried something new, and there were bright spots, you mentioned it, but ultimately the need for a goal scorer remains. And if you look at the response both coaches were asking for, you alluded to it. For Louisville City, it was all about what did you give? Well, they gave blood, they gave sweat, they gave tears, they gave everything. What a performance. They've been asked to close out matches better in the other matches, and tonight they did just that. They didn't give away hardly any clear-cut chances to this Riverhounds side, and even though their chances perhaps not as many as we typically see from a Louisville City side, they were efficient with what they were given.
The former Kentucky Wildcat who finished his college career at Belmont from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Jansen Wilson, the winner in the 49th minute. An action he started, most definitely emphatically finished. Louisville City win this one, another tightly contested Hounds and City affair in Pittsburgh. This Louisvillian doubleheader on CBS Sports Network has only just begun. Wrap it up on the other side of the break. Back on CBS Sports Network, Jansen's got fans. 1-0 Lou City over Pittsburgh, the final here on CBS Sports Network. Let's walk you through the highlights. Mike Watts, Marion Crowder. Here we go. Things really perked up in the second half of play. He knocked Mushagalusa from long range, the former Lou City player.
He had to go at this one, and why not? At that point, Damian Loss had not been tested, so give it a go. But really, the story was this goal from Jansen Wilson. You said he has fans. Well, he gave them something to show. Pittsburgh gets too narrow. He takes advantage of that with an inverted run centrally and ends up not only starting this goal, but finishing it as well. A cheeky finish with the outside of his foot with the assist from Elijah Winder. Whether he meant to or not, doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net. And in the 76th minute, this would be a detrimental moment for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. A second yellow and a red for Luke Biasi, one of the center backs, But Mike, there were times as this game progressed on that I had to remind myself Pittsburgh's on playing with 10 men, because as the match went on, especially into stoppage time, their sense of urgency got better, their pressure got better, but at the end, it was all too late for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Meanwhile, we've got a doubleheader on ESPN2 this coming weekend from the championship. Monterey Bay really banged up. They'll see a red-hot Oakland Roots Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Then Marion and I will transport ourselves to Phoenix. Got Rising and Charleston. It's the championship rematch. Don't think they don't think about it, as Darius would say.
Absolutely. It's going to be 100% an emotional match in 112-degree heat. We'll see what comes of it.
Let's go for it. Meanwhile here, it was hot. These two teams typically play heated affairs, and they did again tonight. Louisville hangs on for a 1-0 win. Class of 2024 defying the odds coming up, and then Louisville and Angel City in the NWSL kickoff, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here. For Marion Crowder and our entire team, Mike Watts saying thanks for watching, and so long from Pittsburgh. Jansen Wilson front. Wilson